Hey, I'm Alex, and today we are talking through the process of making a quest from the ground up, starting with no ideas, no plots, and only very minimal lore for guidance. To kick off this whole process, we simply went to our world map, zoned in on a town that we wanted to build our quest in, and went from there. This whole process was done on Twitch at D&D Sandbox, so if you want to aid in the quest making process, then please come join us. Also, everything I made for this quest, along with every map and quest I ever make for this Sandbox campaign, is available on my Patreon, so go there if you want access to the resources or if you just want to support the channel. Jumping in, I knew this quest wasn't going to be massively complicated or some crazy multi-session arc, so I looked for a nice smaller town where we could place the quest. I chose this spot in Oasis Sanctuary and started building. The only thing we really had to go off lore-wise was that Oasis Sanctuary and Silvervale follow the same water-based religion called Aquata, but they have different perspectives on water due to their location. Silvervale is very protective of it, but uses it freely and in abundance as they have access to enormous amounts, while Oasis Sanctuary sees it as a precious commodity and are incredibly sacred about its use. As we created the town using the world map for reference, I looked at the major aspects of the town for guidance. There were a couple features we looked at heavily. Firstly, the tower, and secondly, the oasis the town is built on. After discussing a few options for the tower, we decided that it would make sense to have the tower stand as a religious building for the area. Not just any building though, this is where the Aquata's religious leader is trained, a person known as the Oasis Singer. As we continued to build the town and write a bit more lore for the region, we made a real breakthrough in regards to figuring out a direction for the quest. Ivalon, who had been contributing a lot so far, brought into the mix filling the tower with desert land of the circle druids and nature domain clerics, while also creating a group of rangers with desert natural explorer who protect the town from monsters. You know, say rangers can kind of go and explore these areas and like go into the mountains a bit more, and it's sort of like amongst it, while meanwhile the sort of nature clerics stay here. Druids and clerics stay here in these towers. It could be sort of a nice way of differentiating them. This introduction of these subclasses slash character configurations set the backbone for the quest ahead, changing everything we did to be much more centered around the nature-based spellcasters of the tower being in competition with the protectors of the town. The two factions being called the Agua Tawa and the Desert Rangers, but I'm not going to say which one is which. From here, we set down a simple premise. The party find out that the town of Pope is Sandy, that's the name of the town by the way. It made more sense when the Oasis Singer was called the Desert Pope. Get it? Pope is Sandy? Ha ha ha. Everyone loves it. Anyway, the party find out Pope is Sandy is being attacked by giant birds and are hired by the Desert Rangers to go to their home in the massive rock formations near the town and kill them. Sure, this is incredibly basic, but giving a nice singular thing we could have the party do was a super useful jumping off point, and we would endeavor to bring in much more optionality, duplicity, deep dynamics, and politics to make this simple idea so much more. So the next question became, if the Desert Rangers want the birds dead, what can the Agua Tawa want that stands as a counterpoint? After I fumbled around with some totally average ideas, Clueless Forum, who had joined the stream maybe 5 minutes earlier, came up with the great idea that the Agua Tawa want to domesticate the birds for farming purposes. For a farming type operation. Ooh. Yeah, I like that a lot. Like maybe there's like a little bird egg or like bird babies. So instead of clipping the wings, they're like, can you go in and smuggle the children? This suggestion was great for 3 reasons. We now had a strong juxtapositional base between the factions that led to more interesting and difficult decisions of who the party sides with. We also had an encounter, which can be a standard battle or be a stealth mission where the party sneakily steals some eggs, later expanded to some eggs and small birds. And lastly, it extended out a major theme for the quest, Pope Sandy's contentious relationship to food and water. Just before, when looking at Desert Circle of the Land druids, we realized they inherently learn the create food and water spell. So this idea of animal domestication helped build out the idea that one of the primary goals of the Agua Tawa was they are trying to get proper agricultural production going in Oasis Sanctuary, partly through magic, partly through more grounded means. We decided this agrarian revolution was heavily needed as the region was consistently battling a lack of food and was up until recently mostly relying on food imports from Rivergrain. With this, we now had 2 basic quest lines the party could follow. Quest line A being side with the Desert Rangers and kill the birds eating the townspeople every couple of days. Questline B is steal some eggs and baby birds so they can be domesticated and farmed for food. Now that we had a general premise in mind, we turned our attention to making some NPCs that could stand as the representatives for these two factions. Up first, we have Ivogor, the leader of the Desert Rangers, who has taken a more proactive approach to dealing with monster attacks. While in years past, the Desert Rangers have attacked monsters defensively, helped protect merchants caravan their goods across Oasis Sanctuary, and acted as general peacekeepers, Ivogor has switched up the game and started attacking monsters in their homes. Kinda rude, TBH. This last idea, obviously, and it really speaks for itself, would later become a quite complex plotline involving the consequences of destroying ecosystems, the balance between short and long-term solutions, and of course, eco-terrorism. But that's all down the line. And for the Aguar-Tawa's representative, we have Sonko, a druid who has an ingenious mind around creating spells and using magic for food production. Because of their skills and the dire situation happening in Oasis Sanctuary, the Oasis Singer themselves has granted them the authority to experiment and investigate ways to produce routes for sustainable food production. However, Sonko has taken this allowance incredibly far, using this authority to denote that any opinion or action they have or do as sanctioned by the Oasis Singer themselves, even giving themselves the title Head of Agricultural Innovation. All things they are only able to get away with because they may be a loose unit, but goddamn do they get the results. So we have our two main characters, our two main NPCs. We have the general premise. We have a bunch of backstory for the town. We have made some sicko progress. So let's talk about the actual quest. Let's get into the thick of it. Quest! Following the creation of these NPCs, we then went working on creating the battle map and figuring out how this encounter might go. I decided to use a 3D perspective rather than top-down, mainly because the top-down battle map didn't have the assets I wanted to represent the area. We built a rocky base for the birds to hang out and placed down some craters as placeholders for the bird's nest, each nest holding around 3 to 10 eggs for the party to get their grubby hands on. As far as the encounter goes, we Yahoo'd answered some possible bird enemies and picked this Verdenfolnir bird for the adult birds and these emus for the children, flavoring the adults as incredibly aggressive and able to fly, where the children are flightless, fairly passive, and mainly try to hide. All in all, the battle encounter is pretty straightforward. The party go in and fight. Sick. So figuring out the stealth is next. We decided that at night the birds would be sleeping, making the baby birds much easier to capture as they are asleep. But the eggs are much harder to get because the adults sleep on top of them to protect them. During the day, it's the opposite. The eggs are more exposed, but the children are awake and will shriek if the party fails to subtly subdue them. On top of this, the adult birds are scouting and keeping watch and will attack the party on sight if their eagle eyes spot the dumb bad at stealth humanoids. You can sort of run in and run out, but you're more likely to have that sort of fight. I think that sort of brings interesting dimensions here. Night versus day. I think with this setup, there's an enormous amount of optionality and possibilities that parties and DMs can come up with to make this a memorable encounter. When I write quests, I try not to be too prescriptive with cool moments and smart solves, as those will be created by the party during the actual sessions. So I think it's more about creating a simple problem with a few varying elements at play, then letting the group noodle up whatever solution they want. This was basically the end of the main quest making section. What we did next was add a bunch more detail to the quest, depth to the town, the lore, the characters, and make a few more decisions available. I won't go into too much detail, but we did things like expanding out the Desert Rangers and Aguar-Tawa rivalry. The Desert Rangers have been killing the lower level, easier monsters in the area, which has brought greater protection, but this maneuver has shattered the food chain. This has led to the more powerful and dangerous monsters attacking the towns more consistently, as people are becoming the only reliable source of food for them, meaning Ivogor's actions are creating the problems they're trying to solve. Even more so, the reason he needs to hire the party is because the Desert Rangers have been spread so thin trying to deal with monsters they never usually need to. Sonko, on the other hand, may have been making agricultural breakthroughs, but they are known to use unconventional fertilizer to achieve their means. Blood. Classic. Even worse, the Aguar-Tawa are known for making monsters, both as magical experimentation and now to try help deal with the food shortage. This is obviously leading to a direct tension with the Desert Rangers, who then have to go kill those monsters. But that's just the beginning. Going even further into depth, no, you get it. It goes on. My point is that there are layers we wrote. It's more than just the main quest line as described above. Plenty of fertile land, if you will. Oh wait, you won't? well, plenty of space for the DM to get in there and give the party a barn burner of a quest where they can really ruminate over the varying philosophies at play, pick a side and affect the direction of a town and even an entire region. If you want access to all the resources we made for this quest, which includes a couple maps, a 3,000 word page document which details all the characters, the different factions, a bunch of the different quest lines, then you can head over to our Patreon where all those resources plus every resource I make for any quest ever is available. If you like this channel and are keen to see more content like it, then subscribe to the channel for more weekly videos. And if you want to get your DM brain into the mix, then make sure you come check us out on D&D Sandbox on Twitch so you can contribute to the quest making fun. And that's the video. Thank you so much for watching. That is mad cool of you. And as always, I will see you in the next one. Bye.